and Sam. 哎呀啦呀来了回呀，嘿呀嘿了回呀，呀回呀嘿呀哈回呀嘿呀嘿喽，呀啦啦来回呀，呀啦啦来回呀，哎呀嘿了回呀，嘿呀嘿了回呀，哈了回呀，哎呀哈回呀嘿呀嘿喽。哎呀呀来了回呀，嘿呀回了回呀，好了回呀，哎呀好回呀嘿呀嘿喽，呀啦啦来回呀，呀啦啦来回呀，哎呀嘿了回呀，哎呀回了回呀，好了回呀，哎呀好回呀嘿呀嘿喽。哎呀呀来了回呀，嘿呀回了嘿呀，好了回呀，哎呀好回呀嘿呀嘿喽。哎呀呀来了回呀，嘿呀回了回呀，好了回呀，哎呀好回呀嘿呀嘿喽。呀啦喂啦喂呀啦啦喂哈啦喂啦喂呀呀啦喂啦呀啦喂啦呀啦啦喂哈啦喂啦喂呀呀啦喂呀呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈哈喂哈啦喂呀哎呀好喂呀喂呀喂喽。呀哎嘞回啦啊嘞哈啦呀哎嘞回啦啊嘞哈哈喂哈啦喂呀哎哈哈喂哟喂嘿哟喂喽。呀啦喂啦啊呀啦啦喂哈啦喂啦喂呀呀啦喂啦呀啦喂啦啊呀啦啦喂哈啦喂啦喂呀呀啦喂呀啊喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦喂哈啦喂呀哎哈哈喂哟喂呀喂哦。呀哎嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦喂哈啦喂呀哎哈哈喂呀喂呀喂喽。呀啦喂啦喂呀啦啦喂哈啦喂啦喂呀呀啦喂啦呀啦喂啦啊呀啦啦哎哈啦喂啦喂呀呀啦喂呀呀哎嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦喂哈啦喂呀哎哈哈喂呀喂呀喂哦。呀哎嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦喂哈啦喂呀哎哈哈喂呀喂呀喂哦。呀哎嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦呀喂嘞喂啦啊嘞哈啦喂哈啦喂呀哎哈哈喂呀喂呀喂哦。哎呀哎呀哎呀，哎呀哎呀哎呀，
Miigwech singers. Ani and Hindinaway Magane Dug. The Miigwech Tagos Nungum Winda Monagok, Asiaman Windaman Sama Wabaminagok, Oma Bi Jaeg Man Bigana Wabandamego O. Good morning and welcome to the 37th Annual State of the Band Address. Koe Dashama, we namigwechu aga au wabishkubenes na binishkoge au manidu guiwizenski pibindikanind wa au gimishumasanan. We will begin today's event by recognizing Joseph Nekwanebi Sr. and George Morrow for bringing in their drum. Dagana, buzzigwig da bibindigaduwa dano gikiweonan, ingiwo gichidag. Please rise as our honorable flag bearers from Mille Lacs All Veterans Group bring in the flags and the Eagle staff. Please stay standing for the flag song.
Hey,
help me welcome our flag bearers. A'au Jawanose, Anthony Pike, U.S. Army, Iraq War, carrying the Mille Lacs All Veterans Eagle Staff. A'au Misquagigikwe, Renee Piwash, U.S. Army, Iraq War, carrying the United States of America flag. A'au Ebamwewadung, Jamie Short, U.S. Army, carrying the Mille Lacs Band tribal flag. Nui mi gwechu agengi o gitchidag na nigamojig. Thank you to the color guard and our singers. Mi da sho piwi ni dajimaga au obizan. We ni ganun da moad gida se manan. Koi ma, da we wabin daiwing ga mazanakizigo da au makawadazid. Please help me welcome Obizan au makawadazid, Lee Staples. He will be giving the invocation and talking for our tobacco this morning. Miigwech.
Usu anin and in a way magnetogam. They get miigwecho and a mano and a migus and miano and a migus one mat bigagi gitriana. Skidasma, the Bama to Tara and the Napagsmaga of Sema. Quegoma, we tabatrama. Scale oh, Bagawayan Basa Kamanam. They get them in a dudago oh, Quay with the Shaganashi with Kinga. In the Nakid, Sonka Gaba we quays in the castle. You go penesh, Geshke Guatang Yoga peace Kaman. Me this guy kitted, me went to Angwamitu and Kiguataman, I not drawing the beast Kamana. I shall go ding the Missawab make way. A new day they make a not drawing beast Kamana. They make covered dash away. Gave we joy with me guy kitted, me wait your me this guy, ma'am. The Burma retire now. Nikagi samaga, Nikagi samagengyo, manidug ma. And Ayan ma, Ayayan man, the Shigagi gita and be shas one with the and the Nakamakam. Getting Nisana and Dana Ewakusiwin, Bama the sea makam. Miko. As you went the Mondwa and go, gay good neighbor, the quid, the sea can go. Be mad as a jigny, ma'am. The day be dupani, you are winner. Get the shama. Kagisama gawin chitanishi, chigay seen me go to bisco. Guess you went out with sing. Skater show, say, ma'am. Magi chigasat boots with them. Imuskna jagasa goena ahoga mishum sanana no do paganan with there. Up being the ganenda. Mia oh. Babskippiness naman and do we sense gain away in the mawajan. A get to minute chigewagam. Skid the snow. Oh, say, ma'am, me with the gain opposite, a napiwat and gilmani dog, not Marco, Siegma, the Nakamik Siegam. Beanish Karini and the ma'am. The Abaja Ogam Shum Sanana no do Poganana. Ge nina wan ge no wenda ma ge anga. Mikise ya isha. Mamo mano ma da mishkawa magatama. Ge jakamak sama. Ena natama ku sato nishanabe. Ge wenta wenta nisana keo. Kuzuan ba marisi makam. Skedisko gaye ma koi gaye ma. Bada shamagao seimam. Ske wite hingyo manitu gene nabasatao seimam. Mima nananda magwa gaye. Shukwa nada panawada no seimanam. Tanata mawawata o bidwewe koye. O gima koya o be munata no ku kamisam nan ma e yata ma shkoni ganinga. Kengyo manitog da nata ma ku no te akusi wikamigong. Wenchata ma pagita na mo winning ma. Nata ma ku usit de nene mi gote no manitun we wenago. Tena isha yat na ke et biki with them. Mi o kea ishin to tamakean. Skeda shao seima. Magina ma rabasat mi with them. Kendi nabasat o manitu swimming e yad. We not a magunana man. Shnabe uyang. Minish ke mam. Manitu ma ya uchisaga iganing besho. Ayaye ka mag. O manitu ipibin tamake ke ibin. The Miquenaman sugar a sema keda o nishanabe. We not a market ke ibin. Nage o a seneo gabo. Ishwina o manitu. Mikoma ne dashin chigasad gaya o manitu. And a natamaku usitro, natamuat no shanaben ma. Aquasiwin and dashin chigadegam. The natamake gay win. Binish gay with them, and it's an aquang o chuabishki ke with them. A yamagatum. Me gay with them. Oh, manitu a pizza gay with deepy wind muatano. And ishana benum. The same Cohen gay win, we now the muadishu in the matano. And ishana ben. Binish gay o same me with him. Kenina basata paquacha. Nepuango manitu kayawagma. Paquach kena. Dipisco be madisi makama yamagatama. Paquach binish gay ma si being. Saiganing ango manitu kayawagam. Sketa shawg the same ananam. Going quite dance way up the scene. E napiwatengyo. Manitogam. The natama gave at manongum the nakamiki singam. Nage the natama goes watengyo. Kai napaminchikam, the bimui to what on shanabe bibams winama. Shkuneganing. Scare o nakanisito. Man mendamen. Ye get going when a panisano no to the kiwin. The natamak them. The mishkawasi to be engaged and the nippy to teo. Shanabi Obama win Binish Kayangio. Kai Napi Minchi Kaye, and a movie tongue. Give in a mam. And natamak was it they went to get cantang kea. And no manitun. Was a young o kea nishanabe dinan. Nakkunagasa to my yatamash kuning. Shkuneganing the minus said them. Binish kaya o. Okima beneske win ma. She went opposite natamago set down. He get gave in sanakadine on the key win. Binish gave in with him. Napish kake with the ashu mugga, she went to Gardig. Oshka Bewis gave in. Then dinner gave Magayem. Dena nata maku was sitting. Nako kaya au. Wakush o numaya. Kai nabi en gay win mam. We win a gun when we go no money doon. Winchita o denne anak kunegeta winchita. Ke nata makota o nishanabe ma. Skune gunning. Skete shiyo. A sema wite ni na basote na bewatingyo. Money dog. Mima na nandamendwa. The mama on a kenawad. So the me got you got take your aquas when ma. They should you got take paper ma de see makam. The bapid we win on the shanabe we win and no money doing the gun away to me good them. Now go waited Peshikio. The bisco aquas when gayo. Skene poangyo. When chita skippy mother city game, you want your anna nigga. Yo, Sami Kamuati, yo. A Mahmood Nongum, obey mother sit down. Kavanad, she's cargoed down. Not Marcos, what, then the bonnet to what. Then their pipe way what, yo. Kea Gashimini goes young and Shanabe young. Kene pen mo young. Kene pa hours kibe mother said gawina. O Candace in yo. Kaina own way was young and shnabe o young. Dan in Jamakwi to Madi Bishko. Then a nata makotoni gane ming. Na koke ma o say mam. In a basit wate na bewating o manidoga. We not the Marco Semin mam. Ishkam dinamishkawa maka. Yo, guys, no own way was younger. And get money to guys in the own way was honor guys in the own hour to know, then shanabe me one. Then they pen me what. Scare yo getting away when they none. Ye go mom where the me God is in on we quit your tongue mom. The scare was young to be shaky where mark yo getting away when they none. Being a scare neighbor okay on the shanabe. Cause you mean to go sit down, then the money to kid and the bean dark who you get. Me gay ma. The Mishkawa Mark Nepwa Mata Nishanabe, then an answer kung. Binishkaye. Then Angwame Ad and Abja Adano, or the same man in the Sugishakao and Nishanabe. Skegeta o Wabishki Wed. Kinishkwe Gunan. Nepwa Ma. We could be not gonna own Shanabe. In a bonnet to you. Kea no money doing guys, you mean a good. Then a pen with them. Go with the Kea. The we could be now seen a own Shanabe. And me quendung, didn't be tendung. Then on the window say, Kea. Guys in the own way was young and Shanabe or young. Ke mi kong ke kimesi panega kito wata. Mi eo gena pasha dakko ne goyang ni kani ming. Pene nindashandana. Ma pinchuna. Kitaya wana ma pe mi winanga. O chichag. E shi winchi gasotam. Ske o nishanabe. Wish ka din da disetem ki awatama. Pinchana no mama en ki gishkagodam. Mima pingyo maniduga. Mai pipin de gishkagoda o binuji. Mi dashma e yawang ma pinchana. Ke nishanabe o Mr. Wendan Kinagego, Kajimina goes young in the Shinabe young. Mima in an atamagota mina, Onigani minga o sakab, Dinesha yada on Shinabe. Kego megonada sing Dinesha yasin. Ske anand konanondawaga, Haninge nabedak mam. Ma inangwa mituing o gidunwe wininana. Gawin ma danger kamagas non ma. Kenata makota on Shinabe. Mima dibisku no meshkudune gananda shuni ake dibisku. Nia ishikina wabandanga o anandigyo on Shinabe. Winchita no chumukumanan. When that paid mujiga, when they swimming with the saw as a sergeant, on when the mama additional shanaben, guys in the own way was, guys in the own way was in it them. They get when it chigiwaga. Nigga, I want to know shanabe, we young sagoma. In the angwamitu sigwana, in there. In the way business, get good to we way business now, yogitin way when in on. Nima, get not the marketo. The mino ayang, the minuanakus young and on the shina bear young. Near to come a minute and me quent the man. In addition to man, it to go ma, and under marking get money do. Danje kamarak ma winchata ke nata makota on shnabe oni gani min migo yo
Migo minoa nui migwechu a obazan. Anin minoa ga kina wia, mi babita o ejige kini me guya. Mi gwech gidigua o ma bi jayeg me bi gonna wapenda mego o. Good morning. My name is Babita Boyd, and I serve as the Commissioner of Administration. On behalf of the Mille Lacs Band elected and appointed officials, I want to thank everyone for attending today's first ever virtual State of the Band address. Please join me in recognizing the Mille Lacs Band elected officials. A'au Gidugima Kweminan Mundaman, Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin. A'au Ainamwewidang, Secretary Treasurer Sheldon Boyd. A'au Wagosh, District 1 Representative Virgil Wind. Mino A'au Ogimabanes, District 2 Representative Marvin Bruno. Mino A'au Oshka Bewis, District 3 Representative Wally St. John. I also want to recognize Mille Lacs Band appointed officials. A'au Memeng Gwesi, Assistant Commissioner of Administration, Peter Nekwanevi. Mino A'au Bidwewe Kwe, Commissioner of Education, Joycelyn Shingobi. A'au Ningabi no Sekwe, Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Nicole Anderson. A'au Jawanu Gaboikwe, Commissioner of Natural Resources, Katie Draper. Mino Adasha A'au G. Gateway Gabo, Commissioner of Corporate Affairs, Joseph Nekwanevi. Mino Adasha A'au Debakone Gawenene, Widi Buana King Wayne Jibad, Solicitor General Caleb Dog Eagle. Shke Deshwina A'au Chi'inini, Commissioner of Finance Mel Toll. Now I'm pleased to introduce our national anthem singer, Animikika Nibwa Terry Petit. Tori Petit is an urban community member. He graduated from Fond du Lac Ojibwe School in 2012. His grandparents are Irene Shagabe and Richard Jones. Tori loves to sing and spend time with his family. Please help me welcome Tori.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Miigwech Tori. Mida sho piwi niga gwech magao, enum wadung de bigagi gidud. And now I'll ask Sheldon Boyd, Secretary Treasurer, to come to the podium. He will convene the third session of the 19th Assembly.
Good morning, everyone. We're doing things a little different this year due to national health issues that we're all aware of. Therefore, I'd like to greet all those in attendance online and all the folks here today. It's that time again to talk about things and look forward to the next year. The sun is low, the days are short, but the natural sense among people is the knowledge that the days will get longer, the sun will climb, and brighter days are coming. This gives people thoughts of renewal and hopes for better days this coming year. During these short days, the old people from years ago spoke about sitting around listening to elders tell stories. It's those times, and even today, a person will remember a single phrase that stays with them for the rest of their lives. I'm going to refer to some of those phrases today from my past. This is also a time chosen by our past leaders to speak about government, matters that affect the people of the band overall, and share a sense of renewal and better days ahead. Hopefully these words will find you, whether you're on historic communities across the north or homes and apartments in the metro areas across the state and the nation. Whether you're waiting for a ride, sitting at your kitchen table, or watching this on your phone someday in the future, it is with warm greetings and great respect that we in the legislative branch say to you all, Ani and Bonjour, good morning, we hope this day finds you well. This past year has been unprecedented in memory for us. I remember hearing an old person once use the word fire as a description for calamity, both natural and man-made, that can take lives, disrupt communities, and cripple nations. There's a fire in the political world that needs to be sorted out and in Washington, D.C. and nationally. We can all help that by not letting issues further divide us, agree to disagree, and continue on our shared journey. Locally, there were stories of confrontation and yelling in the old community centers and public meetings, where those same people would be seen outside after talking and sharing a good laugh. There was a fire this summer of social statement nationwide by people of all social backgrounds, continuing the uncomfortable conversation of lifetimes of inequalities in this country because of a person's skin color. This stirred a nation to look in the mirror. where many of us experienced a mental and emotional inventory. But what did not discriminate for almost all of us was a pandemic. The witness of human reactions to this pandemic now gives some insight to the pandemics in history books and the realization of the complexities of human behavior. This pandemic can also be put into perspective regionally as one of the many fires to befall the Anishinaabe and our neighbors over time. We must all be thankful to health professionals, parents, grandparents, and our children for caring for one another. We also offer our condolences to those who lost loved ones during this time, during this mental and physical test of nature. The old people talked of flood stories and smallpox, termination and removal. Recent generations have witnessed firsthand the fires of alcohol and powerful drugs. These are the times to take stock in the strength of our communities, support each other, and try to remember and speak of the best things. Someone will remember a phrase you say that will stay with them the rest of their lives. Okay, moving on, I'll highlight some of the many accomplishments of the elected officials of the legislative branch and the staff that I have the pleasure of working with. I'll close with what I believe to be the next major financial step for the Mille Lacs Band. Under the Mille Lacs Band law, the Secretary-Treasurer has a dual role as Speaker of the Assembly for the legislature. All these positions of service and duty are tasked with being responsible for accomplishing set goals and improve the general welfare of the people within the specific authority granted under Mille Lacs Band law. Among the duties of the Speaker of the Assembly are to require the prompt recording of the Assembly's acts and deeds. It is with great pride to announce on September 2nd, 2020, the Legislative Order 30-20 was passed by the Band Assembly, ordering live streaming of sessions to commence June 1st, 2021. The Band Assembly chambers have recently been retrofitted with 5 new large screens, a new audio-video system, microphones, and a portable system for Band Assembly to broadcast from locations where connectivity allows. This live streaming will change the experience of Mille Lacs Band members who choose to listen to the processes and legislative sessions. Membership will see that government is made up of people with flaws and strengths, insight and emotion, and be able to observe the many issues that are involved with tribal government moving forward. Also, Legislative Order 2720, passed on July 8th, 2020, some legislative staff positions were reclassified to permanent level status. This is intended to aid in the transition of power within the legislative branch by having institutional staff assist incoming officials with historic knowledge to impact the learning curve of elected office. I remember an old person saying that long time ago, there was a person that walked through the village and talked out loud about things that concerned all the people. This person kept people informed with a common message that helped people know what was going on. On December 2nd, 2020, the Band Assembly passed a bill. Then Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin signed into law the creation of the Office of Reviser of Statutes within the legislative branch. This was a project of Band Assemblies in years past that was brought across the finish line by the hard work and collaboration of this legislative staff. Congratulations to all those involved. This leads to the announcement, a little bit about the Reviser of Statutes. The Office of the Reviser of Statutes will independently care for the language in statutes for consistency and timeliness, prepare draft legislation for district representatives, and the publication of statutes. Also key is the law authorizes the establishment of a tribal register where policies and official orders from the elected, appointed officials, and the 3 branches of government can be accessed. This leads to the announcement now of the statutes of the laws of the Mille Lacs Band that have been published for the first time in over 15 years in a hardcover, softcover, online, and electronic form. I have a copy of that right here. These just came in last night. This is really nice. This is cool. Please congratulate Staff Attorney Hannah Valento for the hard work on this project, Legislative Counsel Adam Candler, Valerie Harrington, the collaboration of all staff to make this possible. An important addition last year was the first Mille Lacs Band member as Commissioner of Finance in over 15 years, Mal Toll. Hey, Mal. Mal brings the unique perspective of being a Mille Lacs Band member, and he certainly voices that perspective, has a skill set to work productively with all involved and keep the finances of the band his priority. Congratulations, Mal. Good to have you. Now, no other elected position in Mille Lacs Band government is as specifically bound to the overall financial matters than the Secretary-Treasurer. There are 2 specific duties under band law that were the driving force behind today's report: to receive and receipt all monies paid into the band treasury and safely keep the same until lawfully dispersed by formal appropriation. And the other one is to investigate financial irregularities. And what may be the hallmark project of this term is a first-time independent assessment of 5 non-gaming financial entities of the band. Now, during the gaming era, the Mille Lacs Band has responsibly put revenue to work in investment portfolios, the war chest or nest egg, if you will, for unforeseen times, both natural and man-made. While carrying out the duties, the knowledge came that many tribes across the nation do not have the internal resources to effectively manage investments. Tribal governments have come to rely on outside people, investment advisors, and fund management resources over the years. The Mille Lacs Band government is no different. Nationally, tribes are beginning to take a more active role in the management of financial assets. Relying on outside financial investment services has existed for as long as the Mille Lacs Band has had money to invest, some 20-plus years, and resulted in long relationships built on friendship and trust. Within the first 6 months of taking office, it became apparent there needed to be a review of those investment relationships. There were common sense questions about the investments of the band where there were no ready answers. Questions based on the duties of the Secretary-Treasurer under Mille Lacs Band law. There was a basic position that helped keep focus through this, and that was investment managers are not doing the band a favor simply by investing our money. The band is doing them a favor by allowing them to invest our money, and the band must regularly inventory those services. Upon taking office, Commissioner of Finance Mal Toll believed financial services should be put out to bid regularly. So how does the Secretary-Treasurer act in good faith and exercise great care in keeping the funds of the people of the Mille Lacs Band safe? Staff began a nationwide search for a balance of financial expertise and experience of working with Native American tribes to perform a first ever independent analysis of the investments of the Mille Lacs Band. On July 16, 2020, the Mille Lacs Band Assembly authorized a contract between the Secretary-Treasurer and Sovereign Finance, LLC, to perform this evaluation. Please extend thanks to Wendy Merrill, Christine Jordan, Adam Candler, Rich Burley, Mal Toll, Sean O'Keefe, Brianna Boyd, and many others who offered advice, freely shared their knowledge of investments, and the unwavering support of the elected officials. Finally, to the staff of Sovereign Finance, LLC, Jeff Lamb, Todd Early, Courtney Montero, and their respective staff. Now, the scope of the evaluation included 5 financial entities: the band's benefits, or 401ks, of the government, Woodlands National Bank, the St. Paul Foundation, where band funds were invested in 2011 for philanthropic purposes, and finally, long-term and minor trust investment portfolios. Now, of the first 3, I'll be brief here for purposes of time. The Mille Lacs Band 401k benefits package received passing scores. The St. Paul Foundation received high marks for investment management of band funds. Woodlands Bank also received high marks when compared to banks of similar size and assets. We should all congratulate Woodlands Bank President Ken Villebro, management staff, and the employees of all branches of the Woodlands Bank system. Please keep in mind, with the exception of the Woodlands Bank system, all these non-gaming financial entities need substantial restructuring and improvement. We have a lot of work ahead of us. An elder once said to me, where investors are concerned, it's just like the trader at the trading post a long time ago. They had the upper hand, controlled prices, made huge profits, and all business knowledge wasn't shared. The Mille Lacs Band owes Sovereign Finance, LLC, an immeasurable debt. This report sheds light on 20 years of a financial relationship that was based on factors that were counterintuitive to proper and accountable oversight, according to industry investment standards. The report is several hundred pages long, was presented to elected leaders of the band on October 14, 2020, on behalf of the Secretary-Treasurer. Due to the nature of the financial information and the economic security of the people of the Mille Lacs Band, at this time the report remains under review. The evaluation report has shown a need for improvement at every level of these investment management relationships. It's time for the Mille Lacs Band to take a more active role in investment management. Like other tribes, we have outgrown decades-old financial safeguards, and we must retool our internal processes and standards. We can and we will do better. Now, this evaluation was the first step. There's a steep learning curve of the investment management principles involved, and changes will be recommended moving forward. The internal investment structures of the band need to be redesigned to accommodate our investments now and in the future. For now, these proposals are fluid in nature and will include a permanent investment fund management entity meant to endure changes in leadership and establish internal protocols to begin responsible management moving forward. A call will be made to membership to begin career preparations to meet this potential new field in tribal government. A new field similar to the early 1990s when casino management was just a dream. Investment management. We must begin managing our investments for the coming generations, and we can do it ourselves. We can begin exploring the meaning of a phrase by Courtney Montero of Sovereign Finance during the report presentation, and that's financial sovereignty. Okay, this concludes the update for the current matters within the legislative branch during the past year. I'd like to recognize the staff within the legislative branch. It is with profound thanks to recognize current legislative staff who have made my time here so enjoyable. Parliamentarian Darcy Bigbear, legislative staff Kiana Morrison, Samira Kimson, staff attorneys Adam Candler, Joe Jensen, and Hannah Valento. Those people under legislative order are meant to be the permanent core of the legislative branch moving forward. Legislative Director Brianna Boyd and Communications Director Valeria Harrington are Mille Lacs Band members who have taken on critical roles and will continue to operate through leadership circles for years to come. Special thanks goes to the staff of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, unsung heroes, period. Also, the overall accomplishments mentioned today here are only made possible by the partnership of the elected leaders of the Mille Lacs Band and their staff. District 1 Representative Virgil Wynn, District 2 Representative Marvin Bruno, District 3 Representative Wally St. John, who comprise the Mille Lacs Band Assembly, and Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin. These individuals have shown a willingness to have frank conversations, sort out differences, and above all, compromise, and keep the interests of the people of the Mille Lacs Band the first priority. Now, on to the business of the day. This is the start of the third session of the 19th Assembly. The Mille Lacs Band Assembly will now hear the State of the Band address by the duly elected Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin and the State of the Judiciary address presented by Chief Justice Ramona Applegate. As Speaker of the Assembly, I call to order a regular session on Tuesday, January 12, 2021 at
11:55 a.m.
11:55. We'll do a roll call, please.
District 1 Representative Virgil Wind.
Present.
District 2 Representative Marvin Bruno.
Present.
And District 3 Representative Wallace St. John Sr.
Present.
We have a quorum. Item number 2 is approval of the agenda. We need a motion to do that.
Mr. Speaker, if I may, I'd like to motion to approve the agenda, please.
There's a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
There is a second.
Seconded by Wally. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Under approval of minutes, there's none. And now we move on to the reports and presentations as per Mille Lacs Band statute.
Mida shopi. Wini wabandaiwe ngi o mezanatese ga mazanakisiko dao. Benesi kwe, chidibakunege kwe. Shkeo itajindan gaija segen dajidabakunege. We will now hear the State of the Judiciary by the Honorable Chief Justice Ramona Applegate.
2021 State of the Band, Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe Judiciary Address delivered by Acting Chief Justice Ramona Applegate. Bonjour, it is my duty and pleasure to deliver the 2021 State of Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe Judiciary Address. 2020 was a year of unprecedented challenges for the band's third branch of government. I am proud to report that the judiciary and court staff have responded and adapted outstandingly. We found ourselves needing to focus on the primary mission and purposes of the Court of Central Jurisdiction, and strategizing how to fulfill those in the face of the stress and strain of the global pandemic. The role of the band's judiciary is multifaceted. The court acts as the keeper of safety and peace in the band's territory, resolving disputes in a culturally respectful manner, addresses the root causes of child neglect and family dysfunction, and creates opportunities for band member and community healing. I will share with you the major ways in which the court has adapted to continue to deliver services and our continuing progress towards creating a more user-friendly and effective justice system. Before I delve into those efforts, I would like to introduce my fellow associate justices. Justice Elmer Nekwanabe is a District 1 representative of the Court of Appeals. We welcome Sylvia Wise, who was appointed on December 16, 2020, as the Associate Justice from District 3, filling the vacancy left by Justice William Primo's resignation. One of the most significant events of 2020 for the court was the departure of District Court Judge David Christensen. Judge Christensen served as our tri-level judge for the past 6 years and many years before that in other legal positions with the band. He answered the call of his tribe, the 3 affiliated tribes of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara to come home and serve as their chief judge. We are grateful for his many years of enthusiastic service, the concern and compassion he showed to all who came before him, and his initiatives designed to enhance the court's operations to better embody Mille Lacs Band values, customs, and traditions. Our new district court judge, Richard Osborne, a member of the Cherokee Nation, returns to the position which he held from 2008 to 2014. He started his 6-year term on October 13, 2020. In the intervening years, he served as state of Minnesota judge, hearing both unemployment and Department of Human Service matters, and as assistant district attorney for Muskogee County, Oklahoma. With his return to the Mille Lacs Band Judiciary, he is fulfilling his goal of working in Indian country. Our deep appreciation goes out to our special magistrate, Tammy Swanson, Joe Plummer, and B.J. Jones, who readily pitched in to hear and decide cases in the interim between Judge Christensen's departure and Judge Osborne's arrival. Without their assistance, many cases would have been delayed for weeks or months. The task of converting a court system that is accustomed to handling all filings and filings and hearings in person to one that is 100% remotely conducted was complex and further complicated by how quickly the transition needed to occur. We're so fortunate to have band member Gilda Burr, our longtime court administrator, leading the court's efforts. Gilda faced the challenge of having to accomplish this while furloughing in various respects 70% of the court staff. We thank her for outstanding efforts and long hours dedicated to keep the court running seamlessly. The court staff persevered and adapted to shifting shortened hours, schedules, reduced paychecks, new non-contact filing systems, and communicating remotely with numerous attorneys and litigants to move that to a system that was physically safe for judges, staff, attorneys, others, and clients, while maintaining confidentiality. Took many steps. Chief Justice orders were issued which adopted procedures to reduce physical contact in court proceedings, suspended the requirements that affidavits be notarized to avoid personal contact, and authorized the electronic filings of pleadings and orders. District Court Rule 134 was developed and approved to make the new e-filing system permanent. Gilda was able to access the band's COVID relief grant funds to contact for a new system, File and Serve Express, that will put a comprehensive professional e-filing system in place by mid to late February 2021. Once the system was implemented to avoid the need to file documents in person, the court then turned to implementing ways to conduct hearings and trials without personal appearances. The court could not use ordinary conference phones or Zoom because those methods are not secure and the confidentiality of the proceedings would be put at risk. After significant research and investigation, the decision was made to implement McCalb for telephonic hearings and WebEx for video trials. Keith Magdalene and the IS department staff deserve our profuse thanks for getting all this technology installed and running in record time. The new system has worked well, however. The court needs to stress the importance of persons involved in the hearings and trials to call in. Failure to call in results in delays that prevent the completion of cases and may even result in children remaining in out-of-home care longer than necessary. The district court will be instituting a new process utilizing appearance bonds in criminal matters to better ensure defendants appear for their arraignments. Additional information about the bond process will be distributed and posted on the court's webpage soon. The silver lining to the pandemic could be over 2020. Maybe that the Court of Central Jurisdiction is now one of the safest and most technologically advanced tribal courts in the United States. In 2021, we will continue this enhancement trend with focus on automating court forms so that anyone can fill them out and file them from their computer or smartphone. Despite shutdowns and stay-at-home orders, people will still in need of the protection and service of the court. In 2020, 1,287 cases were filed, and of those, the court closed 973. There were 1,435 hearings, and the district court issued 1,160 orders. The court takes seriously the obligation to keep the concept of Shawinama at the center of its proceedings and practices. The 24th section of 2002 of the Mille Lacs Band statute states our judicial philosophy as follows. Peace and harmony between the people of the band is necessary to ensure the survival of the Anishinaabe. At times, a circle of peace and harmony amongst the people will be disrupted. This circle of life needs to be restored in a manner that permits the integrity of the individual to be maintained so that the community will continue to grow and prosper. The goal is to strengthen and help those who come before the court so they may experience a good life. Unfortunately, we have seen the circle of life close for far too many band and family members during 2020. Be it because of the ravages of COVID-19 or due to increasing numbers of drug overdose deaths. The New York Times characterized COVID-19 as a national relapse trigger. In the first half of 2020, the drug overdose deaths increased by more than 30% in Minnesota from 2019. Even more alarmingly, overdose deaths of people between the ages of 25 and 34 were up 58%. The state believes that the increases are due to the introduction of fentanyl-laced oxycodone. Tragically, the opioid epidemic ranges on in the shadow of the pandemic. It is critical, therefore, that the Court of Central Jurisdiction strengthens its partnership with tribal departments and state agencies to intensify its efforts to combat substance abuse and the devastation it wreaks on individual lives, their children, families, and the Mille Lacs Band as a whole. We know the approach the court has been using so far has been successful. I'd like to share the story of a young band member mother and her children who have recently returned as a recent result of the tribal court welfare process. Several years ago, a band member baby tested positive for opioids and methamphetamine at birth. The tremors and distress of neonatal abstinence syndrome set in immediately, and the little baby had to be transferred to the neonatal intensive care unit at Children's Hospital. Both his parents were homeless and deeply involved in their drug use. The baby was fortunate that the sober band member relative was willing to be a foster care placement. Even after their child was placed into foster care, the parents continued to use and become involved repeatedly with the criminal justice system. The parents' relationship was characterized by severe domestic violence. A few months after the baby was born, the mother separated from the baby's father and became sober. Unfortunately, her sobriety did not last. In the following year, she gave birth to another infant who was also tested positive for methamphetamine and opioids. The mom admitted to having used heroin daily before her second child's birth. The second child joined the older sibling in foster care. After 2 years in foster care, the relative could not care for the children any longer, and the children were placed in non-relative foster homes. For varying reasons, they had to be moved twice to new foster homes after that. The case remained open for the next 2 years. Finally, the mother again finds herself in jail, and as a condition of probation, she is ordered to attend inpatient drug treatment. She enters into the Recovering Hope program in Mora, Minnesota. This is a highly effective program that allows mothers who have their children with them as they work in their recovery. The mother seriously engages in the program, becomes sober, and earns the chance to have overnight and weekend visits with her 2 children. While in treatment, the mom discovers that she is pregnant for the 3rd time. But this time, she is drug-free and receiving regular prenatal care. She graduates from Recovering Hope, but she is homeless. She knows she can't be reunited with the children if she doesn't have safe, sober, and stable housing. Contact is made with the wraparound program, but unfortunately, there are no houses available. The mother's parents, like so many parents of addicted children, had previously been afraid that their daughter would relapse, and consequently had been reluctant to have her move into their home. By this time, however, the mother has been sober for over a year. She has a job. She's being an excellent parent to her children. Her parents welcome her and the children into their home. She maintains her sobriety. She gives birth to a healthy, drug-free 3rd baby in October 2020. The court determined that the reasons that led to the children being removed from their mother had been addressed. That as a result of the mother's hard work and commitment and her strong family support. The Court and Family Services oversight was no longer necessary, and Judge Osborne dismissed the case. While this is a happy ending, it did not come about quickly or smoothly. It was approximately 4 years between the time the first baby was born and removed from the parents' custody and the day the case closed. 2 different judges, 3 different deputy solicitor generals, 6 different tribal social workers, and 3 different county social workers came and went on the case. In those 4 years, the 2 older children moved to 4 different placements. It took several extended family members to come forward to care for the children. There can be no dispute that the reunification process took too long. Even 12 months in out-of-home care for the short life of a child can seem like an eternity to him or her. It is documented that long-term out-of-home care can negatively impact a child's development. The court hopes that using a different approach to child protection cases can be a vast improvement and achieve family reunification more quickly. Our improved approach, the Family Healing to Wellness Court Program, also known as Nujimboa Wagamig in Wandiniwag, or Healing Journey, has been in the planning stage for over 3 years. This will be an interdisciplinary collaboration team program that will have the participation of tribal departments, the schools, the relevant state courts, and the agencies. This approach will improve communication and speed service delivery to individuals and families suffering from the effects of substance abuse. We were thrilled to learn in November 2020 that the band's application for funding for the program from the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Justice Programs is fully funded for $877,477. We express our gratitude of the Grants Department that collaborated with court staff to prepare the successful application. The band was one of the only 30 out of a multitude of tribes applying to be funded. As we move through 2021, the Court of Central Jurisdiction will continue to meet the justice needs of the Mille Lacs Band community. We will be improving access to court services and in ways that are safe, efficient, and compassionate. We know that even in the face of the pandemic, we need to redouble our efforts to address the opioid epidemic. We also know that the court will need the continued support and collaboration of our fellow governmental branches, the chief executive and the legislative branch, to bring about health and healing together. The court is looking forward to working with band member elders and other community members who are willing to share their recovery experience, strength, and hope with others striving to become and stay sober. There's a post on the Sober Squad Facebook page that says, "If trauma can be passed down generation to generation, so can your healing. Working together, we can help this generation to heal." Miigwech for the opportunity to give you the State of the Judiciary address.
Miigwech minua benesikwe. Mida sho piwi ni win de magid, gaiji se gaiji de jika gade gi on shnabe babamezo na au, gidu gima kwemena na au mandamination akazut. We will now hear the State of the Band address by the Honorable Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin.
Buju Anin and Nishnabe Duk, Mino Gijigad Nungum, Mandaman Indigenous Cause, Melanie Benjamin Indigo. Good morning, Mr. Speaker, members of the Band Assembly, Madam Chief Justice, and members of the court, and most important, fellow members of the non-removable Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. I am honored to speak to you today on the State of the Band. 1 year ago, this room was filled with nearly 1,000 band members who came to hear about the State of the Band, reunite with old friends, and enjoy a wonderful community meal together. While I was standing at this podium and looking into the audience, I saw a sea of beautiful Anishinaabe faces. The sound of coffee cups, of crying babies, of little children who have been trying to sit quietly. Those sounds have been the background music to all 14 State of the Band addresses I have given. Today, I miss those sounds. Last year at the State of the Band, we sat close to each other. It was a day of a lot of hugs, new babies, of shared food, and especially shared desserts. And we laughed and talked to one another up close without worry. Today, I am really missing those things. Last January, we did not know that less than 3 months later, we would be in a community lockdown. The doors to our casinos and businesses closed, school buildings closed, the government building locked due to a global pandemic. This year, the State of the Band is very different as we come to you online in order to protect the health and safety of our band community. But some things will never change, including how we begin this day in our traditional way. Miigwech to Obazan for speaking on our behalf, so we can begin in a good way. Miigwech to the ceremonial drum, Manidu Giwazans, Wabishki, Benes, Joe Nekwanebi, and George Morrow for bringing the ceremonial drum today. Miigwech to Mille Lacs all veterans for posting the flags, and to Arlen Sam, singers on the ceremonial drum, and Tori Petit for singing for us today. Like me, I know many of you miss getting together as a community, but COVID has not been able to stop us from being a community. There are people who worked hard to make sure we could broadcast this to your homes. It took a small army to make this day happen. To each of you, miigwech for your hard work. There is no getting around the fact that 2020 was a very rough year. COVID-19 has been vicious with too high of a cost. Band members lost loved ones to this disease. Many band members face job loss and financially insecurity, and as American Indianas, all of us had to cope with the fear and anxiety of being in the highest risk group for complications or loss of life from COVID-19. 2020 was a year of an ugly national election that nearly ripped our country apart. Just last week, we watched on TV as the US Capitol was attacked by domestic insurgents trying to overthrow the election and the government. And it was an MCT election year where we saw some of the ugliness of the national politics spill into our own band elections, which we must never allow to happen again. And if that wasn't enough, it was also a year of fear, anger, anxiety, sparked by racism, with the social unrest felt around the world due to the murder of George Floyd in the middle of a pandemic. Finally, COVID has caused loss of life in other ways. Addictions and mental illness became worse with social isolation. Depression in the United States has tripled since COVID and is higher in communities of color. When people have trouble coping with sadness, isolation, and anxiety, they may turn to drugs and alcohol. Depression also makes other chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer worse and harder to treat. Sadly, we have seen all of this firsthand. The number of band members who have passed away this year is double from the previous year. Hearts are broken from the loss of life and so many funerals. It is important to acknowledge that there is a great sadness in our community right now. If you are a loved one and you know others that are suffering from depression, we have help available. There are phone numbers listed here. Please call them if you are struggling. Every band member's life is a gift, and your families need you. During 2020, some of the worst things we could imagine happened, but in many ways, it brought out the best in us we could ever hope for. Last year, I talked about something that Joe Naquanabe Sr. said. He said we should all try to be good ancestors. During one of the darkest times in our modern history, many Mille Lacs Band members did just that. They became the light in the darkness, being the best ancestors they could. I've heard 2020 described as a dumpster fire, but 2020 was also a year when small sparks together lit a great fire of community service, of fighting injustice, and adapting to a new world. As band members and employees, you step forward to serve our band with courage and compassion, risking your own safety to protect others. Together, we did not cower in the crisis of this pandemic. We faced it head on, and we fought it. We took decisive action and quickly changed the way we do nearly everything so that we could keep band members safe. On March 14, 2020, I issued an executive order to mobilize our Tribal Emergency Response Committee, which we call TERC. Our TERC included members from all three branches of government. They met around the clock, making sure that we could get help and basic government services to our band members. To slow down the virus, many difficult decisions had to be made. All employees who could perform their jobs from home were directed to stay away from government buildings. We continued to pay all employees as long as we could, but there came a time when we had no choice but to furlough many employees. We tried to time this with the federal government's expansion of unemployment benefits so that people would still have a source of income. But we know this has been a period of great stress for our furloughed workers. I want to acknowledge your sacrifice for our band as well. While many band members and services went online, like education, telehealth, and nearly all our business functions and meetings, there were still services and help that band members needed that could only be provided in person, so those employees were asked to remain working. With careful planning, the Turk found the safest way for our frontline workers to continue providing those services to band members in person. This included housing staff who continued going into homes to assist band members during the pandemic. Our education staff and teachers also continued to care for and teach our children when in-person education was in place again. Our healthcare and wellness providers and staff, public health staff, and maintenance crews all across the districts, our employees who returned to work after the casinos reopened so we could begin our economic recovery, and our OMB staff because we still needed to pay the bills and get paychecks out. All of you sacrificed for our band, sometimes at a great personal cost, especially those who became sick while working. I also want to acknowledge our urban area staff led by Wabin Spears. After the murder of George Floyd, there was civil unrest like we have never seen before. While a new civil rights movement was born from millions of peaceful protesters, the actions of a few created destruction. The world watched as South Minneapolis seemed to be burning down, very close to our urban community near Franklin Avenue. With COVID-19, Wabin and her staff had to deal with two crises at the same time, and they did it well. They coordinated with the Turk to make sure that band members received food and supplies when all the stores were closed, and that band members could get their medications when there was no public transportation. Band members like Colin Cash and Randall Sam answered the call, driving to Minneapolis from the reservation to assist with protecting the community, watching over our Woodlands National Bank, tribal offices, businesses, and housing, all in the middle of a global pandemic. To our frontline workers and band members who risk your own health and safety to ensure the basic needs of our band members were met, to all in our community who sacrificed during the pandemic. You are all heroes for our band. Miigwech for your bravery, generosity, dedication, and service. I also want to acknowledge and thank our dedicated members of the Band Assembly for your important legislative work and your strong partnership in getting through the crisis. Our emergency response would not have been possible without your great work. And Chi Miigwech to Speaker Sheldon Boyd for his strong, decisive leadership during this crisis. With Sheldon Boyd in charge, our legislative branch worked harder than I have ever seen. When our casinos closed and there were no funds for per capita, Speaker Boyd laid the course for providing much needed economic assistance to band members. At the same time, he did a brilliant job managing our financing and preserving long-term savings so that future generations will always have resources for another crisis if needed. Speaker Boyd leads with integrity, compassion, and he lives our Anishinaabe values. It has been my privilege to work with him. I also want all band members to know that our division of powers government was the main reason we were able to respond so quickly. Together as a government, I think we had the best crisis response team in Indian country, and that is just not my opinion. Throughout COVID, we were contacted by other tribes asking for advice, wanting to know how they could replicate what we were doing. Federal and state officials commented that we were better prepared for a crisis than most cities and counties. For that, I want to acknowledge everyone on our Turk committee. I also want to give a big miigwech to Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. When the virus hit and the state was about to shut down, tribal leaders were among the first people the governor contacted. Daily phone calls with tribal leaders were held to brief us on the crisis and to coordinate with our team. The governor and the lieutenant governor also get emergency assistance to tribes in Minnesota. No other states offered as much help to tribes as Minnesota did. We will always be grateful to our state leaders for standing by us. Despite the challenges of 2020, we did not let COVID stop us from making progress. Some exciting things happened this year. For example, after taking inconsistent positions on the status of our reservation in recent years, the state of Minnesota made it clear in early February of 2020 that our reservation was never disestablished and has since reaffirmed that position. Miigwech to Attorney General Keith Ellison and Governor Walz for joining with the federal government's position that our reservation boundary never ceased to exist. Mille Lacs County still refuses to acknowledge the existence of our reservation, even though it has never been able to show how the county is harmed by the reservation. The issue will be argued in federal court in March of 2021, and we may get a ruling by the end of the year. Our historical language revitalization project got off the ground in 2020. With help from Rosetta Stone, we're making tools and resources that many generations will be able to use. We are also creating books to build our library of Ojibwe language resources. By raising children who are fluent, we are exercising our sovereignty. We're making sure our future generations can think, act, live like Anishinaabe people with Anishinaabe values. This project will protect our language forever, promising that future generations will always be able to learn Ojibwe. In 2020, we also opened our new health care center, a state-of-the-art facility where band members can get health and wellness services. The move was very difficult due to the pandemic, but we did it. We purchased property in Minneapolis across from the All Nations Church, where we will be building new housing in a multi-use building that will include a community gathering places for band members. Miigwech to our urban area planning committee members who are advising us on the design. We are just one of the 2 tribes in Minnesota that received a special eagle permit, which removes the challenges that make it hard to obtain eagle feathers. Band members now have a much more fair and consistent process when eagle feathers are needed. We continued our legal battle to protect our lands and waters from a new pipeline through the courts, which is a proper role of government. Individuals worked at the grassroots level. And on the economic development front, we have some very big news. The U.S. Small Business Administration has a special program called 8A Certification Program. This is for businesses owned by women, minority groups, and tribes. Businesses that get this 8A status can receive preferential treatment for government contracting. In March, 4 of our global companies called Muckwa Global, in March, 4 of our Muckwa Global companies were accepted into the 8A program. This is a very big deal. In just the past few months, Muckwa Global has landed several government contracts around the world that are very exciting. For example, our band is now assisting the U.S. Department with its counterterrorism training needs. Through another contract, we are working with the U.S. State Department on a construction project overseas at a secure location that cannot be disclosed. Who have ever thought that this was possible? It always has been our goal to diversify so that we are not dependent on gaming. For 3 months last summer, when our casinos were closed, we experienced the hardship that the loss of gaming would mean. With this new source of income coming from government contracting, we are on a path to long-term economic security, even if there is another pandemic. This is history making. On another historical front, next week on Wednesday, January 20th, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will be sworn in as the 46th President and Vice President of these United States. This is a profound moment in history because on that day, we will have the first woman Vice President. We are witnessing another glass ceiling being shattered forever by Kamala Harris. To anyone who has a young daughter, a granddaughter, or niece in your homes, there is one thing I ask you to do on that day. Make certain your TV is on a channel showing the inauguration. We need all our little girls to watch this historical event so they know their dreams, no matter how big, can come true. I am confident in the Biden administration. President-elect Biden's plan for tribal nations is the strongest I have ever seen by any president. It is based on tribal sovereignty and respect for tribal governments. President-elect Biden has made history for us in another way as well. During the campaign, he promised that if he won his election, his cabinet would look like America and be the most diverse cabinet in history. He has already made good on that promise in a big way by nominating Congresswoman Deb Haaland to the position of Secretary of Interior. We may have the first American Indian ever to serve on a president's cabinet in one of the most powerful positions in the country for Indian tribes. The department reach goes far beyond the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Indian Education. Every day, decisions are made or actions taken across the whole department that affect us. This includes protecting our trust lands, our economic development, our sovereignty, law enforcement, and public safety. Our treaty rights, access to clean water, our food security, management of our trust funds, protection of wildlife, plants, fish, and even our religious freedom. The Secretary of Interior is supposed to be our trustee, yet throughout most of the past 170 years, the trustee has overseen the exploitation of our lands and people. This will not happen with the new administration if Congresswoman Haaland is confirmed. A highly qualified Indian woman will be serving in a position who already knows our needs, who understands tribal sovereignty, because she is one of us. Finally, despite the division that a few people tried to create, our MCT elections proved that our tribal democracy works. On that note, I want to thank band members for giving me the honor of serving as your chief executive for another term of office. I am very humbled by your support, and I intend to see through every commitment I made during the campaign. My goal is that 4 years from now, we will look back on the post-pandemic years as being a time of growth and prosperity for every band member. I know we can do this if we keep working together in the way we have in the past year. Now is a time for unity. As we begin this new year, many have asked, when will the world return to normal? That depends on what normal means. All of us have been impacted by this pandemic. We have all changed in some way. Things can never go back to the way they were, but that does not have to be a bad thing. Our future can be better than before the pandemic. If we move safely and continue to be smart, we can reemerge as the community we want to be and know we can be. We can get through this pandemic together because we are resilient. We are already on the path of coming out stronger than before. Out of fear and uncertainty, many band members and employees shined. They showed courage and determination, using creative problem solving to meet our challenges. It has been a long time since our band has to deal with food insecurity. But COVID-19 put up new roadblocks that made it harder to get nutritious food, especially for elders and people in high-risk groups, families with young children, and those who lost their work income. When our children could no longer get their meals at school, our government and corporate commission devised a plan to get meals to the kids at home. After the casinos closed, our food and beverage staff switched from serving guests to serving our band communities almost overnight. Thousands of meals were made every day for the band and the area school children. Weeks worth of food for elders was put together, and our highest risk people were able to receive basic food supplies so they could not have to risk going to stores. I want to thank a couple people in my office, Julie Skinaway and Roberta Martin, who helped elders get groceries in District 2 and District 3. Across the band, teams of people were organized to distribute food in each district and the urban area. This took hundreds of people, and we did it. We were successful in getting a special grant of nearly $1 million to provide housing assistance. 478 band families received help through this grant. On that note, miigwech to Brittany Wind and our grants department. The band received every single COVID grant that we applied for. Individual band members also got creative. When the whole county was out of medical masks, art ladies went to work sewing masks for band members. Some even taught other band members how to sew their own masks. Miigwech to Temperance McLean, Carol Hernandez, our ALU residents, and many others who saw a community need and took care of it. Band members put our Anishinaabe values into actions by taking care of one another, checking on elders, delivering food to those in need, and helping neighbors. Getting through this pandemic is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Resilience is not about avoiding the winds of crisis. It is about facing and walking through the storm with courage and coming out stronger than ever. This is who we are and what we do. We have that in common with other American Indians, but also with indigenous people all around the world. International researchers who study resilience came up with 6 things that seem to get indigenous societies around the world through the hardest times. Our elders, our identity, our language, our ceremony and traditions, our spirituality, and our sense of humor. Of course, we already knew all of that at Mille Lacs, but the past year has proven our need to respect and protect these things. Our ability to survive every crisis the world has ever thrown our way is built into our culture and makes us all Anishinaabe. These are the traits that will get us through a pandemic, and we will come out stronger than ever before. As we go through this new year, I hope we will focus on strengthening, sharing, and supporting all of the things that make us Anishinaabe resilient. One of the many lessons I learned this past year is that most people don't like to watch long video messages. So rather than go through each department, I've asked the commissioners to provide a short video about their area in more detail. This way you can learn more about our achievements and challenges from the last year, as well as goals for 2021, directly from the experts who run these areas. I encourage you to watch these videos following this address. But I do have a few directives for commissioners I do want to mention today. To the Commissioner of Administration, Bobby Tao Boyd, with the list of so many of our fluent speakers, we are facing cultural state of emergency. When an indigenous community loses their language, it is called language death. This has happened to countless tribes in the United States. Our younger people who are second learner speakers are very worried that unless we take big steps now, our band could experience language death. If this happens, our identity and survival is at risk because it is only through our language that we conduct our ceremonies and continue our traditions that make us Anishinaabe. Ojibwe language is a gift we've been given from the Manidoog to communicate with the natural world, the animals, the plants, and one another. There is a meaning built into our language that guides us how to treat one another. It is through the language that our ancestors were able to survive. Our ancestors lived through a time called the termination era, when federal policies tried to terminate our Indianness. Federal officials made it a crime for us to conduct our ceremonies. They sent our children to boarding schools and forbid them from speaking our language. But our ancestors didn't allow this. They fought back. This is our time to fight back. What we have found out is that we need a good, comprehensive plan to achieve recovery of our language. The good news is that we are on the path. Commissioner Bobby Tao Boyd, we need focused leadership working on this project. I hereby direct you to make a leadership plan so this can happen. Chief Executive Art Gabo had a dream that one day Ojibwe would be spoken throughout the government center. This can happen if we do it right. Also, our personnel policies must be updated. Currently, they do not reflect the culture of the band. I further direct you to work with other commissioners to get this done within 3 months. To the Assistant Commissioner of Administration, Peter Nakwanabe, I hereby direct you to continue working to get band members into our homes and convert rentals to home ownership. I further direct you to work on a veterans housing project as a 2021 priority. Every veteran who served our country should be guaranteed housing on band lands. To the Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Nicole Anderson, you and your staff had done an outstanding job this year protecting our community. You still have your work cut out for you with COVID-19. Continue rolling out of the vaccine until every band member who wants a vaccine gets one. To the Commissioner of Natural Resources, Katie Draper, I direct you to focus attention on reorganizing our enrollments department. For band member parents, the most important service our band provides is ensuring that their children who are eligible to get enrolled. We know from history that many mistakes were made in blood quantum, some going back as far as 150 years. With new data coming from the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, we have to revamp our entire process. I will also be holding public hearings in 2021 on enrollment to include band members' input in the process. To the Commissioner of Education, Joyce Shingaby, your directive for 2020 is to get a history program developed for every grade that focuses on our band. By the time our students graduate, they should have a deep knowledge about our history, including our division of powers government, the meaning of tribal sovereignty and self-governance. And they should understand exactly how our band government works. To the Commissioner of Corporate Affairs, Joseph Nakwanabe, I hereby direct you to train as many band members as possible to participate in Muckwa Global Ventures. We are in the beginning stages of a new revenue stream, but we need band members' jobs to come from these ventures as well. To Solicitor General Caleb Dog Eagle, I direct you to work with tribal police and federal, state, and other tribal agencies on a drug-free zone plan for all 3 districts. Also, I direct you to improve communications between OSG, law enforcement, and band members, so our community is well informed. I also have 2 directives for all commissioners. Last year, we brought in our first Solicitor General, Jay Canasatega, to provide training to our elected officials and commissioners about the creation of our division of powers government. This was a transformative experience for all who went through the training. People who had only heard stories about how our elders planned our current system of government left with the understanding of the cultural reason for our 3-branch government. They gained new knowledge about the connection between our Anishinaabe identity and the way our government was intended to serve band members. In 2021, I direct you all to create a plan that provides this training to any band member who wants to learn more about our history. Our history is our birthright, and all band members should have access to this important part of our identity. Second, 2020 has taught us that it is time for all communities and businesses in America to have real conversations about racism, inclusion, and respect for other cultures. Our employees especially need to understand how our elders are to be treated. I direct commissioners to work as a team to develop one cultural sensitivity training for all government and casino employees. The training will be guided by our elders and inclusion experts and will strengthen our entire community. Some days, even in a long and dark winter, there is a very bright sunrise streaming through the clouds that lights up the skies, the snow, and frozen earth. Today, there are rays of hope in our future. We have been through one of the worst years in modern history. The whole world has, but we know there are better times coming. Where do we find the strength and hope to move on? I have hope that the Biden-Harris administration will reverse the policies that hurt Indian country and restore policies meant to protect our lands and our resources, especially slowing down climate change. I have hope that the new administration will bring justice back to the Justice Department and that the Indian Health Service will finally receive more funding as we recover from the pandemic. I see hope in our ability to win legal battle about our reservation boundary. I see hope in economic recovery. I see hope in science and medicine and the vaccines that have been developed in record time. The world will soon be safer again. Mille Lacs Band members are people of great strength. So many times before in our history, we have stood our ground. In 1855, we were promised a permanent home. We were told we could stay here for 1,000 years and longer. In 1863, they tried to move us, and again in the 1880s. At that time, Shabash Khan asked the federal negotiators, "Is the 1,000 years up that the great father sent you here?" Shabash Khan would not be moved. And still today, we are the non-removables. Almost 100 years ago, our ancestors were fighting another global pandemic, the Spanish flu. The first jingle dress was created here in Mille Lacs to help heal the sick during that time. Our ancestors met the disease with our resolve, our medicine, and our prayers. Our community survived. The character that was passed down to us by our ancestors, the strength, determination, stamina, and grit, the resilience is the greatest gift they passed on to us. Their blood, the blood of warriors, runs through our veins. The will to face down any opponent, stand our ground, and fight is within us, but especially the ability to get up and fight another day, the ability to rise to any challenge and then rise again. Our Anishinaabe values, our compassion for others, and our resilience will show the world how to get through a crisis. History is not something that fate decides. History is made by people of vision and courage. We have plenty of both. When our history is written, future band members will define us not by how we suffer through tragedy, but how we persevere despite tragedy. And when socially distanced, we are still united by our blood, by our history, our culture, and our values. In future years, we will tell our grandchildren about the time, about how we met this challenge, and how we did not just survive, we came out stronger and more unified. And so, even after the most difficult year many of us have ever known, the state of the band is still sound and strong. The strength comes from you. If there is one thing we have proven, is that no virus can stop us as a band or take away our spirit. Despite what we have lost, despite the grief and hardship, we will be stronger and more determined because of this. We owe that to our ancestors and to future generations. We are Anishinaabe strong, but we also are Anishinaabe resilient. and we always make a comeback. I wish all of you the best in 2021. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Madam Chief. Right now, we'll call a recess for band assembly, and we'll continue the session across the street. Are you coming up? Okay. Before I go, I'd like to remember one more staff member, Deanna Sam from Department of Motor Vehicles. She's also one of the core staff of the legislative branch. Don't want to forget anybody.
Miigwech Minoa Mandaman. Just another message, if you or a loved one are struggling with depression or anxiety, help is available, and please call the crisis line that was listed at 320-674-4385. Mida sho piwi ni wabindai wengano mezanate sagan gaoshatua dingu nayadama gajik. At this time, we will be showing video updates from the commissioners and our Solicitor General. Miigwech.
Aninin dinaway maganidug, mi babito and dijiga kanamigo. Mi ma administration, Ojibwe wigamege win jigadeg, indana no kian. Nimigwechu endum sa nungum, the win damagayan, gaija segima, indana no kiang. Minoa dash, aninigo misawendamang. We wabunjagadeg nigan, ge nadama guyeg, no wajdanimo minosang. Miigwech gonna wabandamego o mezanateseg. Hello, my relatives. My name is Bobby Tell. I serve as the Commissioner of Administration. I'm grateful today while giving this update on administration achievements and what we hope to see in the future. Thank you for watching. Shkeda shio Ojibwe wigamig. Mima ge na damagu ad gakina no kijig, ma Mrs. Agaigan, shkuniganing. Mima na wai ge na kamagak, ge jise gibabamizi winanan. Administration is the central department responsible for working for the workforce in the central operations of band government, including human resources, information systems, grants, self-governance office, Elder Supplemental Program, district offices, Ojibwe tribal child support, and government affairs. Ishkedashki wendazanagade o anapanewin, gianimiga damong, minoadashki maj tamagak and gi mawanji dimin, indasugijig de dajinjagade gejige yangiban, genadama guyeg. Adjusting to the COVID-19 virus has been challenging, and at the onset, the Tribal Emergency Response Committee met every day to discuss how the band government should respond to continue to support the band membership. In information systems, we expanded government and Neashing Schools' capabilities to work remote via a virtual private network. They have an application in progress for 2.5 gigahertz spectrum through the Federal Communications Commission, which if awarded would put the band in a position for residential or commercial use, and that's still to be determined. In human resources, we are updating our onboarding procedures and performance appraisals. Our salary compendium is being updated for a more current and competitive pay scale for positions. We implemented new Zoom and conference call style interview processes for hiring and have been supporting departments band-wide with setting up Zoom meetings. We work with branches and departments of band government to support new remote work support for supervisors in monitoring performance, accountability, and productivity. In child support enforcement, the total number of open cases during fiscal year 20 was 1,818, and the amount of child support collected and distributed for the year was $2.5 million. Child support statutes were updated this year. The purpose of the reform was to allow Mille Lacs Band Tribal Court to establish right-sized child support orders that supports band children, while also being fair to all the parties involved. The Chief Executive signed the bill into law on October 8, 2020. Those who have child support cases open can expect notifications of those changes. For the grants department, we have 97 active grants. Many of these run for multiple years of programming. The grants department submitted 43 new grant applications in collaboration with various Mille Lacs Band departments. Of the 43 applications submitted, 17 were for new program enhancements, 9 for continuation of current programs, and 17 were related to the COVID-19 pandemic. From the 43 applications, there were 33 awarded grants, resulting in a 77% success rate for Mille Lacs Band and a 100% success rate for COVID-19 grants. Ojibwe Madazing's new hub and training center is at the old clinic location in District 1. We are able to use grant dollars to remodel for new educational and training spaces and confidential meeting spaces. Ojibwe Madazing served 1,204 clients in fiscal year 20. This year, administration partnered with Health and Human Services and Education to rebuild wraparound services. We also expanded on We Do services to form Gaini Ganisajig, our future leaders. This resulted in a significant cost savings for the band and increased program efficiency. 79 families were assisted with child care support across band districts. Ojibwe language training and development continues. 70 jobs were created in the Elder Bookmaking Project in Rosetta Stone. Our future generations will have access to Ojibwe language. The district community centers, program administrators, and site managers have been working to coordinate food distributions and other safe social distance events. They continue to assist in program access for band members. The urban office continues to partner with various organizations and accepts donations for distribution to the urban community. In conclusion, the pandemic has challenged us as Anishinaabe people in so many ways. We've always been a resilient people, taking on any obstacles that might come our way. Administration will continue to develop efficiencies in hiring, onboarding, and virtual access to band applications and forms so that we can continue to promote safe, social distancing, and a healthy workplace. Miigwech.
We'll continue the commissioner update videos at the end of this session. For those of you who aren't familiar with Naugiza Sibun, James Clark used to tell the story of a song. It was specifically created to be sung at the State of the Band address for the people of Mille Lacs and to celebrate and bless them. We will now hear that honor song. Please rise. Miigwech Geye, Nikamoyeg. Lastly, this event wouldn't happen without the help of so many. Yesterday afternoon, there was a dish set. Joseph Nekwanebi Sr. spoke for safe travels for us all, a successful State of the Band event, and a successful year ahead for the Mille Lacs Band. A second dish was set for all of our loved ones that are struggling with COVID-19 and other illnesses, and especially for those who are hospitalized at this time. Miigwech Minawa Wabish Gibanes. And miigwech to all the volunteers who worked so hard to plan this event. This concludes the 37th Annual State of the Band Address. Miigwech.
Buju Gakinawea. This is Joycelyn Shingaby, and I currently serve as the Education Commissioner for the band. The departments that are part of the Education Division are the Higher Education Scholarship Program. We offer college courses through ITV, online, Skype, and Zoom with various higher education institutions. For an Associate of Arts or Science, we partner with Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College, and that has been a successful partnership. The Mille Lacs Band Scholarship Program offers a tribal scholarship based on student need. We offer a scholarship to enroll Mille Lacs Band members and their direct descendants. Application for a tribal scholarship can be found on the Mille Lacs Band website under Education Scholarships. Approximately $201,000 was awarded for academic achievement, and scholarships awarded for SY20 was $998,000. There are 3 classrooms located in the 3 districts: District 1 Community Center, District 2 Community Center, and District 3 Major Quad Center. For our K-12 Neosho School Pine Grove, Mille Lacs Band operates a BIE school in District 1 and 3. Neosho School is a middle and high school and offers the required courses to lead to a high school diploma. Emphasis is on Ojibwe language and culture in all courses offered. Abanujiak School is K-5, and students are taught the required courses with emphasis again on language and culture. Pine Grove is an extension of Neosho School and offers core curriculum courses, including language and cultural classes. There are 193 students enrolled in all 3 schools. Early education programs. Mille Lacs Band has early education programs in the 3 districts. Funded by federal and state Head Start grants, this early education program provides state-of-the-art programming to the youngest members of the community. In addition, daycare services are provided. Total enrollment is 130 children, with all children funded under a grant. Anishinaabe Ijitwawan Language and Culture Camp. This is a program that will provide language and culture services to community members in the traditional lifeways of the Ojibwe. The greatest challenge we face in 2020 is the Education Department worked diligently to continue to provide services in all areas, and early education in Neosho School went into distance learning within a few weeks, and today continue to offer distant learning to students. The top achievements that we had for this year is the early education program offered the same program in a virtual setting. One of the highlights of this program is children learning sign language in addition to Ojibwe. Under Neosho School, federal grants for native language development were revised to include an upcoming summer camp program at Anishinaabe Ijitwawan. And band members continue to pursue their higher education and technical certificates that can be attested to the amount of scholarships issued for SY 2021. In looking ahead, the Education Department pursued a new grant opportunities. We partnered with Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College in a grant opportunity to offer classes in obtaining a child development certificate or diploma. This grant will allow up to 5 band members to get that diploma. Neosho School applied and received grants totaling $126,500, which allowed students who previously dropped out of high school to complete their high school requirements and to improve reading scores throughout the K-12 program. Neosho School's goals for 2020 is to increase the graduation rate. In conclusion, I just want to say, miigwech kakena for listening. There is so much more that we look for in providing quality education to our membership. Our staff is committed to serving you. Have a great 2021. Meet you.
Good morning. I hope that you're enjoying the 2021 State of the Band Address. I am Peter Naquinabe, and I proudly serve the band as the Assistant Commissioner of Administration, while also filling in for the vacant Commissioner of Community Development. I hope that everyone watching is safe, secure, and in good health. Wow, what a year 2020 was, but together as a strong community, we have made it to 2021. You should have received the 2020 Executive Branch Annual Report. It is full of information about all that took place within the Executive Branch this year. I would like to take this time to give a brief update on some of the highlights within the Community Development Department and information on the COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program, also known as CHAP. I'll start with the Housing Department. Currently, the band's Housing Department has 515 rental units, 247 regular, 115 low rent, 134 elder rentals, and 17 CMD owned. This year, the department completed nearly 3,000 work orders, which was an increase of nearly 800 from the previous year. This was to be expected as the chief executive stay-at-home order was in place most of the year. Housing maintenance currently has 23 employees. That's almost 130 work orders for each employee. Housing and maintenance and carpenter crews also completed 23 remodels during the year. In the year ahead, 25 of the most damaged homes will be returned to the band's housing stock. I would like to take a second to encourage all band members living in band units to remember to take care of the homes. The remodels that need to be done due to tenant damage is a huge cost that can be prevented. Please take care of your band home. Next is the Public Works Department, which oversees road maintenance, water, wastewater, and solid waste in all 3 districts. Each year, all 3 districts participate in a spring cleanup. This year, due to COVID, the annual spring cleanup was delayed by nearly 2 months. But that didn't stop the community from the biggest spring cleanup ever. The 2020 annual community cleanup saw an increase of nearly 35% more garbage collected over the previous year. Both the Housing Department and Public Works crews continue to work through the COVID pandemic. I would like to say thank you to all of them for their hard work during this unusual year. On July 22nd, the Mille Lacs Band Grants Department submitted an application for the COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program, CHAP grant. The purpose of the programming under this grant was to serve as an administrator or facilitator of program delivery for financial relief for those who have housing-related hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The band received our award on August 7th. From August until the grant application end date on December 7th, 674 requests were assisted, serving 478 families for a total of $953,000. This is a very successful grant that helped numerous band members. I would like to thank Brittany Wynn, Grants Director, and her dedicated team, Tammy Wickstrom and Christian Thies and Angie, and the hardworking staff including Tammy, Rachel, Bill, Marlene, Dondi, Mary, Kari, Renee, and Don, and 2 Winonas. I'd like to finish up by saying thank you. 2020 was a year we'll never forget, with so many new normals, from social distancing to wearing masks. Thank you, band members, for all doing your part to keep our communities as safe from the virus as possible. Thanks to the Turk members for working countless hours to develop and follow through with all the safety plans and actions taken. And thanks to the elected officials for supporting the Turks' recommendations to keep our communities safe. Enjoy the State of the Band address, and I look forward to this new year. Be safe. Thank you.
Greetings, band members. My name is Nicole Anderson, and I am the Commissioner of Health and Human Services. There are many areas in HHS, including, but not limited to, the clinic, public health, substance use programs, family services, and elder services. The main priority in HHS is to meet the individual needs of those we serve in a respectful and compassionate manner. As you can imagine, 2020 has been a year of rapid change and continuous adjustment as we have navigated through the COVID-19 pandemic. When the Turk was activated late last winter, a series of changes were implemented for the Mille Lacs Band government. These changes had a major impact on health and human services. Quickly, plans were developed that centered on keeping community members and employees safe while still providing those much-needed services. Through this time, we took a team-based approach across all areas to ensure that the immediate needs of band members were met. Healthcare and access to COVID testing were identified as major priorities during this time. Even though access to band buildings became limited, we were able to enhance telehealth services to accommodate community members. Throughout the pandemic, the use of telehealth services has been welcomed by many community members and has had the added benefit of reducing transportation barriers for many. As we move forward, we will continue to use a hybrid model of both telehealth and in-person services. Very early in the pandemic, leadership felt that quick access to health services staff would be essential. From this, the 24/7 nurse line and the mental health lines were implemented. COVID testing was also identified as a priority. Initially, we had very minimal tests, 15 to be exact. The health services team had to be very mindful of how those tests were used because there simply was not many tests available. Today, HHS has the ability to test community members daily and run those tests in-house. In June, HHS facilitated the first of several community testing sites, with the most recent testing site held in December. Along with this, HHS partnered with the Mayo Clinic during the fall of 2020 to do community-wide antibody testing. On December 17th, the health services staff began administering the COVID-19 vaccine to elders and frontline employees. During the first round, 165 vaccines were given. As we plan for COVID in 2021, we will continue to adjust and respond in a way that puts the community first. At the same time of managing during a pandemic, HHS successfully moved to the new building in June with minimal disruption to services. This was a major accomplishment as we were doing community-wide COVID testing, moving, and providing regular day-to-day services all at the same time. Great job, team. Despite all the challenges we have encountered over the past year, Health and Human Services has made it a priority to increase community member access to services. The pandemic slowed things down for a short period of time, but we were able to adjust quickly, and I am very pleased to say that we have eliminated or dramatically decreased waiting lists for the clinic, mental health services, and Rural 25s. As we look forward into 2021, we want to safely start normalizing operations, meaning opening the doors up a bit more, as safely as possible for community members. 2020 has been a tumultuous year for us all, and it brought us many challenges. As a team, we have made it a priority to provide safe services to community members. I want to take a moment to thank the community for your patience and understanding as we navigate the daily challenges of operating during a global pandemic. Your compassion and support during these constantly changing times has been very much appreciated. I would also like to take a moment to thank the Health and Human Services team, who have been committed to providing safe services to the community. Together, we will get through this.
Good morning. I hope you're enjoying the State of the Band address so far. My name is Katie Draper, and I was appointed to serve as the Commissioner of Natural Resources in February of 2020. For some of you, I may be a familiar face, but for others, I'd like to share my grandparents are Cecilia and Eugene Dunkley from Ojibwe. Protecting and exercising our treaty rights is very important to me as the Commissioner of DNR. Some of you may know my late uncle, Joe Dunkley. He was instrumental in providing testimony in the 1999 Supreme Court case, and I am so proud of Joe and everyone who has gone to great lengths to allow us today to exercise our treaty rights in the ceded territory. Shortly after my appointment to serve the band as the Commissioner of Natural Resources, the pandemic hit. As we navigated through uncharted territory, we were faced with tough decisions, but strived to keep departments operational. In a short time, the DNR had 17 of 54 staff working. The remaining 17 staff took on duties of other team members who were furloughed and pulled together to assist departments including education and health and human services. Throughout the pandemic, it has been my goal to share traditional foods and encourage harvesting opportunities for all band members. I'd like to give a special shout out to the numerous community members and staff who shared their time, expertise, equipment, and knowledge as we work together to provide traditional foods with our communities. The Cultural Resources team diligently worked to harvest Gishikanda and Mushkode Wigwash for community members in all of our districts, including the urban community. To date, the staff have distributed nearly 700 culture packs and other mashkiki as it is available. Elder David Sam and community member Rhonda Sam joined DNR staff members Kelly Applegate, Todd Moylanen, and myself to discuss and advise various considerations throughout the spring harvest. In an effort to improve communications with harvesters, DNR enhanced our text alert system that shared harvesting information daily. We harvested nearly 800 pounds of fresh oga and purchased nearly 800 pounds of monomen that was shared with elders during the food distributions. Miigwech again to all who helped and stepped up during this effort. DNR and Glyphwick staff developed frequently asked questions for monomen and deer hunting harvests. We hope to develop more easy-read documents for other traditional harvesting practices in the year ahead. For the fall deer hunting harvest, DNR moved to eliminate metal tags. This change simplified the ability for harvesters to obtain and register their own harvest by utilizing a user-friendly program through Glyphwick called Native American Game and Fish Applications, otherwise known as NAGFA. For those who do not have access to the internet or prefer to call in to register their harvest, DNR staff are still available to assist. Moving on to a couple of statistics, as of December 1st, 2020, there are 4,829 enrolled Mille Lacs Band members. 2,645 live on the reservation and 2,184 live off the reservation. There were nearly 125 newly enrolled band members in 2020. There have been 76 band members who have passed away in 2020. This is 32 more than who passed away in 2019. DNR continued environmental efforts by restoring 3 previously acquired properties back to their natural state, continued to appeal Line 3, and consulted with agencies in regard to permitting and protecting culturally sensitive sites as it relate to water, land, and air. The following initiatives I would like to address in 2021 for the Department of Natural Resources. Continue to advocate, protect, and encourage exercising treaty rights by enhancing trading opportunities for band members. Host bi-weekly Zoom meetings with community members in effort to build trust and communication between harvesters and the band's DNR. Meet with communities to discuss cemetery capacities and expansion needs to gain feedback and recommendations. Improve enrollments department operations by increasing staff members and addressing long overdue needs. Provide gardening, teaching, and site options for communities. Enhance wildland crew to improve access on band lands with trails and traditional medicine plant identification signage to include Ojibwe language. We look forward to the new year and the opportunities to help our band members. Please refer to the annual report for a complete DNR update. Happy New Year and well wishes for you and your families. Miigwech, Bis and Dawieg.
Greetings. My name is Joe Nakwanabe. I am the CEO of Mille Lacs Corporate Ventures and the Commissioner of Corporate Affairs for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. As you know, Mille Lacs Corporate Ventures is active in 5 different lanes of business: gaming, hospitality, marketing and technology, in-district investing, and government contracting. We invest time, talent, and resources into the companies under the MLCV portfolio in order to build a social and economic foundation for the Mille Lacs Band. Without a doubt, the biggest challenge or the biggest opportunity we've been given is going through the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a complete game changer for every business, but perhaps nowhere is that more the case than with the hospitality industry. When we made the decision to temporarily close Grand Casino, we knew we were making an unprecedented decision with significant financial implications. Yet we did so confidently, knowing that it was the right decision to protect the Mille Lacs Band community, as well as the safety and well-being of our associates and guests. Never in our lifetime have we experienced such an abrupt change to our daily lives as we have during the COVID-19 pandemic. In a matter of weeks, we were forced to change our routines and adapt to a new normal. But in business, as in life, every challenge or setback is really an opportunity to adapt and grow stronger. The bigger the challenge, the greater the opportunity to improve. The sudden shifts that we have experienced in such a short time frame have given us the opportunity to question key assumptions about how we operate, to search for answers to the questions that we now face, and to develop new best practices about safety measures for our returning associates and our guests. Even though this has been a harrowing year with this still raging pandemic, there remain numerous opportunities that have been created as the old ways of doing business have paused amid the pandemic. When we closed, we pivoted to a community giving strategy. In total, since March, we've given more than 25,000 meals, cases of water, and supplies to local schools, hospitals, and our Mille Lacs Band elders. Connecting with the community this way has been a bright spot for us. In March of 2020, Muckwa Global officially received its 8A certification from the federal government, which grants preferential status for bidding on federal contracts. Despite government slowdowns due to COVID-19, Muckwa Global has signed 2 government contracts with the U.S. Department of State and has received verbal commitments on 2 additional contracts. In November of 2020, Muckwa Global received its first revenue payments. As the Biden administration transitions into power and the COVID-19 vaccine becomes widely available, the industry predicts that government contracting awards will substantially increase. MLCV partnered with the Initiative Foundation to recruit and sponsor Mille Lacs Band members for 2 cohorts of the Enterprise Academy. 1 cohort already graduated, and another cohort is starting in the spring. Through the development of the Tribal Economy Business Incubator, MLCV is assisting to build a robust entrepreneur ecosystem of resources to create greater industry diversity in the regional economy and to help tribal people better participate in the economy. We're all ready to put 2020 behind us and move onward and upward in 2021. With early vaccines already showing promise, it will only be a matter of time before some semblance of normalcy begins to return to daily life, and we'll be ready. On behalf of MLCV, we wish you and your family a happy and healthy 2021.
I hope everyone had a safe and healthy holiday season. My name is Caleb Dog-Eagle, and I'm the Solicitor General for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. As the Solicitor General, I oversee the Department of Justice, which is comprised of 3 departments: the Office of Solicitor General, Mille Lacs Band Legal Aid, and Law Enforcement. Law enforcement works to ensure the safety and security of band members and our local communities. I'd like to commend law enforcement for all their dedication and efforts and services they provide. Band Member Legal Aid provides band members with education, outreach, communication, advocacy, and access to legal services for criminal and civil matters. Band Member Legal Aid provided services for more than 1,100 total intakes this past year, and I would like to recognize their efforts to band members and to our communities. OSG, the Office of Solicitor General, serves as the lead interior counsel for the Mille Lacs Band. The Office of Solicitor General represents the band government and its employees acting in their official capacities. The greatest challenges we faced in 2020 were undoubtedly related to the COVID-19 pandemic. As part of this, a TERC, or Tribal Emergency Response Committee, was formed, and I served on that committee since March. The Office of Solicitor General is comprised of 8 attorneys and 3 support staff dedicated to serving our band and our communities. One of our goals this past year was to increase and expand services to many departments and programs. Some of these increased services focused on health and human services, undoubtedly related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ojibwe program, grant and contract reviews, protecting and advocating for children and families, statutory codification projects, community development and Department of Natural Resource projects, and increase community participation when possible given the constraints of the pandemic. In 2020, the band received a grant for a Special Assistant United States Attorney. The position is focused on public safety of prosecution of major crimes, especially drug-related crimes, and the exercise of the band's sovereignty. Next, I want to give you a litigation update. The 3 cases the Mille Lacs Band is currently involved in litigation in are the opioid case, the Mille Lacs County case, and the Line 3 case. The opioid case is currently on hold while we wait to hear the results of a test case that's being litigated in Oklahoma. The Mille Lacs County case is currently set to be litigated this year, and we're hopeful, given the constraints of the pandemic, that will remain the schedule. The Line 3 case is currently on appeal from the Public Utility Commission's decision to permit the project. The Department of Justice looks forward to continuing the increased and improved services in 2021. Miigwech, and I hope everyone has a safe, healthy, and productive new year.
Hello, I'm Mel Toll, Commissioner of Finance. I oversee the Office of Management and Budget. We are responsible for budgeting, accounting, financial reporting, investments, and cash management for the band. Specific areas that more directly impact band members would be the responsibilities associated with the minor trust funds and the disbursement of payments to band members approved by tribal leadership. In looking back at 2020, the overall challenge was to increase and improve on our deliverables to band members and the tribal government, while at the same time dealing head-on with COVID-19 and its impact on operations both directly and indirectly. Despite being faced with unprecedented challenges, we had notable achievements. We delivered on serving our band members, employees, vendors, and partners, while at the same time increasing efficiency and safety through expanded paperless initiatives. For the first time in the band's history, we have 100% of employees receiving their paycheck via electronic methods. With the leadership and support of elected officials, we engaged a third party to review our band's financial investments and identified opportunities for improvement. We played a role in providing input to influential legislatures in DC to make sure the voice of the tribe was heard regarding funding for tribes in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Upon receiving coronavirus relief funds, our department, together with other team members, sorted through the law and U.S. Treasury guidance to navigate through how to apply the funding in compliance with the requirements and to best meet the needs of our band members and community. Looking ahead, we will capitalize on the momentum we already have going. We'll continue to focus on paperless initiatives that lead to delivery of services from our department that are safer and more efficient for staff as well as for our customers. Specific items that impact band members include increasing the percentage of disbursements and documents such as pay statements via electronic methods instead of mailing paper. In 2021, we will implement processes and policies to execute on improvement opportunities identified related to the band's financial investments. We will continue to closely monitor, assess, and assist in providing input regarding legislation at the federal level related to coronavirus relief funds. Let me close with a miigwech thank you to the Office of Management and Budget staff. When numerous parts of the world and our communities were having to apply the brakes and slow things down, key members of our team throttled up to make sure we didn't miss a beat at assisting band members and our communities navigate through dealing with the pandemic. On behalf of all band members, for that dedication and hard work, I am extremely grateful. In closing, I wish you and yours a safe and healthy 2021 and beyond. Miigwech.
Miigwech ka kinawea kanawabindamego no mezanate sagan. Thank you all for watching the rest of these commissioner videos. And I just want to say thank you for watching. Miigwech.